I don't know if you remember this, but about 4 or 5 years ago, I was off on one of my rambles, and I was getting all spiritual and deep. And then I kind of had a rude awakening. Well, I thought. And I had told my girlfriends about this, and I remember posting it online, and no one probably paid attention to it. But I know it's time-stamped, and it's on there. And I was talking about that basically, my opinions towards deities and gods and things like that, which I know are not trending now. But at the time, and this was on us, I'm sure of it. It was in the fall. It was on a Saturday afternoon, and it was that night I did one of these recordings. And I basically decorated it up as I had a dream or like a vision or something like that. And I said, it's really interesting. I had kind of this weird, I was going through a very deep spiritual moment. A lot of people were. A lot of people have forgotten about that. And that's intentional, meaning you didn't intentionally try to not think about it, but it's being done. It has a lot to do with what's going on with Trump. But in case you think I'm wrong, I just wanted to show you a little display of what I'm talking about. And yes, arrogantly. Because it's not fun to know that you're right and the whole world literally thinks you're wrong and convinced that you are wrong. Like you would just make some shit up like that when it doesn't even benefit you. And I was talking about how I had a very intense vision. And that I was in one of those not churches or synagogues, but one of those areas where at the hospital, they have all the denominations, but you can go there and pray or be alone and think about loved ones that are sick or dying. And I really did have sort of a daydreaming hallucination. You're on drugs. Okay, fine, then I was on drugs, whatever. I don't want to, it doesn't really matter. Maybe I wouldn't have had it unless I was on drugs. It took me to another place. I do very well on drugs. I'm a babysitter when I'm on drugs. I can drive on drugs. Anyways, I said when I had gone into this room, I saw a little man there, and dreams can be weird like that. And that it actually looked like Elijah Muhammad, who's known as kind of a little small guy, who is the teacher of the current Nation of Islam. I thought that was kind of funny in the vision. But he talks to me and he says, looking up at an area that was behind this vestibule, there's all these iconic images of Jesus, Yahweh, one and the same, Muhammad, Zeus, Caesar. All these great deities in history that we all venerate, right? Every religion, every faith. He goes, which one of these do you venerate the most? Which one do you respect the most? Basically, which one's your favorite is what I thought he was asking. It was just a casual question. It wasn't a declaration of anything. Who am I to say that? It was a kind of a weird dream. And at the time, I remember I was getting a lot of shit from women who, this has been a long part of my life, who always are considering me, who don't know me, for some reason, that bad guy, when I'm really the one who's the Captain Save-A-Ho. And the guys teach me about that. But then whenever they're in a position where Don knows something about me, then it's very easy to push me off as a stalker or as an abuser. And it's always annoyed me very much so, because I was raised by women. And guys tend to not like that I side with women more than I do men. And I'm not aggressive, so they call me the gay friend. Whatever, I talk about that shit all the time. But at that time, I said, in this vision, the man asked me, which one do you venerate and consider the most important? And I already knew the answer to this. And so I kneeled, also known as genuflecting, because I looked it up afterwards because there was some controversy about this, in front of the one that represented Mary. Now, what's weird is, for a drug hallucination, in my drug hallucination, he started going off on me. I thought it was a casual question, just an opinion, who do you think is going to win the game tomorrow? I made the wrong decision. He goes, I don't understand. Why would you kneel in front of her? And he's looking at all the other deities from Muhammad to Jesus, Buddha. Why her? He goes, I remember him saying this. She doesn't have any weapons. In other words, what's her strength? And I'm like, well, that's kind of my point, and that's kind of where I disagree with you. And he had me explain, and I don't remember exactly what I told him, but I had a good formal speech about it. I go, look, I understand she doesn't have any weapons, and she's not known as being a bitch. They can be a bitch, but I go, she really represents 4 different females. And I go, that's why we should have respect for females. And it's about time, the way the world is going, that we get a little testosterone out of this world, let alone planet. But now we have to go back to war. This is when we were still invading countries left and right. And now all of a sudden Trump's a man of peace. But I was like, we kind of need a woman leader. And I'm talking about this from a religious standpoint, though. I go, she represents the mother that we all need. All guys need a mom. Death row inmates go to sleep at night. They'll cuddle a teddy bear and wish they were at home with their mom. She also represents the girlfriend, the virgin woman, the wow, she looks great. I knew I was going to marry her when I saw her. That loving and caring, you're your partner in life. Then I also saw Mary, because I had seen them in my life, as the one confidant, the 3 a.m. phone call. The one that knows everything that your guy friends don't know, and that you typically would not tell a female. And I had been that for other females. And I think I said, and the 4th one is, she's the mother of the original Jesus Christ. She's the quintessential poster woman of a perfect woman. That's why you picked her. She's not too hot, not too cold. Goldilocks. And none of these men, and I pointed at the other deities, I go, not that I had I had disrespect for them. I said, none of them threatened me. Just like in life. I mean, a guy can kill me. A guy could break my leg. I don't really notice that. It's like a fight in a ring. But none of them can kill me. None of them have ever done anything to me. I'll just pop a Vicodin and get over it if I get headbutt. If I get a punch to the face, so what? Stitches and a Vicodin. That's the way it's been our whole life since we were kids playing in the playground. But her, the mother, the daughter, the wife, the female have killed me. Many, many times. Trust me. Maybe because I was owed it. Maybe because I deserved it. But none of these guys can do that. I never gave a shit about these guys physically or emotionally enough that they're really impressive to me. But her, she can be perfect and she can crush you in a second. She can lead you to suicide. In an evil way or in a good way. But I'm just saying, you ask me which one do I look up to and say, I'm intimidated by her. Although in society, we treat them like crap. In fact, even in real life, I'll yell at them. I'll get mad at them because I was raised by women. Because I see them as equals. I do not try to hit women. I mean, that's a whole different machismo world. But I'll get into heated debates, not with men, with women. I don't debate men. They're really not that intelligent when it comes to a lot of the things. But the women are very intelligent because they're observers. So I'm telling this story not to impress, but to kind of point out, just so you wanted, if you wanted to know, any of you shit talkers, that's how I feel about women. And I took a knee, I kneeled in front of her. It was the next day, who knows who heard that or saw that. Back then I had people who would hit the like button. I'm watching, it was a San Francisco football game. Maybe I missed it before. But no, from what I understand, it was the first time ever. And I think it was Garoppolo. Kneeled during, remember this? The American flag being put up and the national anthem. The following Monday, there's a controversy about that. I was stunned because I thought that is too weird of a coincidence because of kind of my feelings about Mary and the connection with the term, and that there was a connection between America, you know how they call, this the land of milk and honey, the land of milk and honey. I mean, I can go on all night if you want me to. And then, when in songs they refer to American woman, that America as a country, just like your car, is a her. And so when I heard that he had kneeled, genuflected before the flag, how in the fuck could you take that as disrespectful? And then all kinds of guys were doing that in the NFL. Now, also, you have to play football. Taking a knee is a serious moment in practice or during the game. So you're not saying, I don't have time to stand up for you. This isn't, like the president's walking into an office. And you have to stand up and salute. No, when you're in a serious moment like that, and you're about to get spoken to, you're about to show your veneration. You don't bow to people that you don't like. That's why you always hear people say, "I will never bow to you." So you don't say, "Hey, I hate you, so I'm going to bow to you and give you honor." Well, you don't say that I hate you and take a knee. And I looked it up, and sure enough, it specifically says that. It's not even a common term or thing that people do in the atheistic life. It's directly connected to doing that, to kneeling before God, before kneeling before Mary. So calling it kneeling is actually the third definition. The first definition is it's taken from the word genuflect, which is a Catholic term for kneeling before the gods. And I think pretty much everyone knew that. But even Mike Pence walked out of the New Orleans Saints game when everyone kneeled. Then they start coming out and saying, and I remember this with my dad, that they're doing that as protest against police brutality around the country. And people were picking up on that. People were saying that. People who had been brutalized by the police were saying, "Thank you for your support, guys." They're kneeling to show that they're against police brutality. And I'm not for police brutality, but I'm like caught in that bind that witches do. I go, no. That's not why they're doing it. They're not. A couple of them, I think, even said, yeah, that's why we're doing it. I'm not. That can't be. That would make no sense. Yeah, and nothing had even happened lately. There wasn't like a Ferguson or anything like that. This was out of the blue. Third game of the year. And I had that moment, which was a deep moment for me. I voiced that moment. And then on the headline news is NFL players are now kneeling before the flag of the United States of America. Well, guess who got drowned out? I did. Most of you didn't even listen to me. You thought the idea itself was hysterical. Bullshit. But you bought into the media telling you, oh, they're doing that to protest police abuse. And I'm like, I'm not for police abuse, but whatever. Okay, maybe you just thought I was using it as a stupid story to show that I have respect for women. Maybe. But I think it's a weird coincidence. I didn't get all NFL players to kneel before the flag, or did I ever hear anyone say what I was saying, which was basically America is literally based word-wise, not by coincidence, but directly connected. The gods connected those things. It's Ameri, Ameri. As they were kneeling to show the respect for America. Although all the people in politics, and even some people were like, we're going to, ban it, we're going to fire players if they get caught kneeling again. And I'm like, no, you're misunderstanding it. But no one listened to me. Everyone thought I was nuts. They didn't even believe that I had ever posted or said anything like that. And it's time-stamped. I'm sure you can find it somewhere on Facebook. They keep those records forever, remember? But wait a second. The other day I'm watching something from the very person who I consider my spiritual guru. Now, like I've always said, Trump's getting the wrong messages because he's interpreting them wrong. It's just weird that, I'll hear a voice in my sleep I think is God. And he'll say something to me, and I'll know how to decipher it because, well, technically, the country's on our clock. I'm of that age. I'm of a Generation Xer. Millennials, too. Boomers are out of here. So I'm not going to be a message for an old man like that. No offense. It's going to be a message for those who are in charge. And plus, I had a deep spiritual connection with him recently, and I'm someone you wouldn't think would have one. I'll smoke a bowl, maybe even shoot some heroin while saying a prayer. I'm a little odd like that. But then again, it's not the drugs. Things were happening in my life that people recognized outside that made them a little nervous. Like, what's this, something is definitely going on with Don, and it's not only in his head. But when I'm hearing these messages, I'm then seeing Trump go into some weird behavior that is almost like he heard the message, but he's interpreting it wrong. The main one being about how he all of a sudden came out against immigrants. Now, I was like, this is weird. He's really threatened by immigrants coming in. Like, he's scared of something. And I'm thinking, that has something to do with that other message you got. And this is the sad part of why someone like Trump should not have been in office just by default. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. But literally, just because of your opinions on things, the age matters. And we are entitled, although we complained about it all the time, and yes, we didn't vote and we don't want to be president. Camilla was the first Gen Xer to possibly be president. I really believe it wasn't that she was a woman and it wasn't that she was black. is that she was a Gen Xer. They know something about us since the day we were born. That's why we're latchkeys. That's why they poison our Halloween candy. They didn't just, oh, we're not going to like this group, but in 20 years, we'll put Baby on board and Amber Alerts everywhere. We'll just adore the shit out of these kids. There's something about these kids. Abortion came legal after we started being born. Damn, that sucks. So this must be an evil planet. What are you saying? Well, I'm saying there's an angelic quality labeled with X, which, by the way, is the universal label for Christ, the body of Christ. And, you know, they'll play the role. They're not going to come out and say, we hate our kids because we think that they're Christ. But there's something divine about us. You wouldn't know it listening to rap. But then again, we are the first time where any generation ever had every single race in it. Though we have some disputes inside of us, we win. We got the prize. What? Whites, blacks, Latinos, we destroyed the racial barrier. There's videos on YouTube right now. How did you guys, Xers, get over the race battle? I've seen millennials and Zs say that. And they say, well, how are we not going to? We all grew up together. We were all together the whole time. We weren't segregated. So that makes America great right there. But no, not in the eyes of Trump. He's looking at it from a Luciferian or physical world, money, buildings, property point of view. And Generation X, by the way, is a universal thing. Meaning, I don't know about the universe, but I know that Generation X is what they call us in Britain, in India, in Australia. Same age group. We might like different music. We might have different hobbies. But their philosophies regarding life, like not being materially connected, keeping it real, all that generic shit you've heard about, that they say is true. But also they've been mistreated and they've seen politics be so corrupt they don't really get involved in it, which has bitten them and America in the ass. Because like I said, it's not supposed to be Trump's time. 9/11, who was in the Twin Towers? Who was in the Pentagon? Who was in those airplanes? I mean, sociologists with, awards are saying this. That they're getting dissed. Then they take our houses and say we didn't pay back our loans. All a lie. A lie. We've never recovered from that. Yet at the same time, we're in that recession. Generation X apparently is donating so much money of its own money and its own time after they lose their houses and are coming back from Afghanistan with PTSD. They're giving the most that they can to charities, so much so that every other age group combined cannot match what Generation X is giving in the time of America's suffering. Since that time, almost everybody has been broken off by the government. Loans have been forgiven for millennials. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff for, poor people, black and white, whatever. But for that age group, and they do measure it that way, the one that happens to be mainly what would be very important for political votes, they don't even talk to you, man. They don't even talk to you, and you've never gotten anything out of it. They were the most affected by the recession. They will never recover from it. So that by 2014, something like 34% of Gen Xers, who are already getting all this attributes for actually, they're not dumb, they have the highest IQs. They're not dumb. There's been more companies formed that are in the Fortune 500, started up, out of all these years, not in the 50s and 60s, but by Gen Xers, whether it's Death Row Records or Amazon. But they're never going to recover. They're never going to be able to recover from the recession, which was made up because of the housing crisis. You took their houses. They're not going to recover. They're moving in with their parents again. 34% of all Gen Xers with kids and married had to move back in with their parents after being married, having a job, having a car. In their 30s. Because they were so fucking taken advantage of during that period of time. And then you go back all the way to Space Shuttle Challenger. The disasters of this country always happen on our watch. The country's on our watch right now, and a disaster's happening. Because I can phone in the ideas. And when you shoot down a woman who was bussed in to Oakland, although black, and I say, hey, one of my race problems, it doesn't exist because I was bussed in schools in Southern California. So I'm looking at my twin sister up north who went to law school. I'm sure we would be good friends. I remember hearing that she was running, heard that she was a bussed-in kid from Oakland, and saying, oh boy, this is going to be the great... And I was serious. The best thing ever for white guys. Why would I say that? What, busting black girls like white guys? No, but I'm saying you're teasing me and taunting me that I'm a wigger. And I know why I'm not. But why I feel some identity with them. I'm not saying I'm in the slums and in the ghettos or anything like that. I'm just saying that the bust-in kids are a little bit more adjusted all around the country. And I get along really well with black people. I have more friends, yes, that are black than white. I don't really like hanging around white people too much. You got to be kind of unique. You have a good personality. I always got along with guys who were black because they always kind of got mistreated. Now, I'm not into black women, but when you looked at Camilla's family, I was like, holy shit. She's connected to a white lawyer? I thought she was a militant. I thought you guys put her up as a Black Panther or something. White lawyer? She gets along with her teenage white stepchildren? And she's busted in from Oakland? You're all tripping out about how she went to a black college, like, during the days of It's a Different World, and, like, she sings in Arrested Development. No, she's just like, she's the black version of me. And many others like me, who went to a busted-in school and are normal. Let's celebrate the things in this country that make us strong because we're all different, which is how it was back then. Wow. They couldn't touch us. Why? Because we had the smartest black kids and the smartest Mexican kids and the smartest white kids. No one could beat us. The whites couldn't beat us. You guys can go play with your racism wherever you want. We're great. We're America. And you tell that woman to fuck off because she probably did something wrong. But the felon rapist, who we already gave one chance to, you'd rather vote her away when she has the right idea. The only answer, the one that you know is, you guys better get your shit together. And you vote for Mr. I've split the country apart. I mean, whatever God's punishment is on us, which I think in itself is Trump, is deserved. All this time we're saying, hey, are you sure, you need affirmative action? Because, most of my white friends, they're not talking racist in front of you because they know you're well adjusted. They know you went into a busted school. They know you speak fluent Spanish. You've been to Guatemala. You listen to rap. But once Trump gets up on that stage and they realize it's okay to come out of the closet like a homosexual, then the racists come out. So we didn't look too cool being the middleman in probably one of the biggest topics on this planet, in case you didn't know that. It's not tariffs. It's not the Panama Canal, and it's sure as hell not immigration. It's that somebody's leaving here. And somebody still has not learned, which is the most ignorant thing in the world. But you've got more in common with a black and a Mexican guy somewhere out there than you do with the white guy next door who's fucking your wife and taking money out of your wallet. They own the banks, they own the DMV. Anyone who's fucked you has been a white devil. Well, I'm white, you're white. Well, we better fix our devil nature. Because some whites, and only whites, are the devil. There ain't no wealthy black people. They don't own half the country. Wealthy Mexicans and blacks do not own all the TV stations. But you're always scared, and you want to shoot and kill them if they're hiking down your street. But something as small as ignorance is keeping you from realizing, don't worry about the brothers. They're not going to touch you. Worry about that guy in the suit. Worry about that white man in the suit. And you still really just don't know that yet? After all this time, you're still hung up on that. You're still part of that crowd, huh? Okay, well, whatever. But again, let's go back to my woman thing. You all told me I was nuts, and I was wrong. I didn't hear any message at all. I made that all up. He's saying that America is a woman and a flag. Dude, they're doing it for police protesting, man. No, I said beforehand. No, you didn't, dude. Yes, I did. Well, I don't want to check Facebook. I hate you because you're a truther, but yet I'm going to think you're making up this story for no reason. Okay. Well, one thing God promised me when He first said, "Do you want to work on the team?" You will look nuts, but you will be vindicated. I don't know if you remember this, but about 4 or 5 years ago, I was off on one of my rambles, and I was getting all spiritual and deep. And then I kind of had a rude awakening. Well, I thought. And I had told my girl friends about this, and I remember posting it online, and no one probably paid attention to it. But I know it's time-stamped, and it's on there. And I was talking.
You gonna be free. Free in the Caribbean, because he won't be able to exercise nothing on you. Did God move through the Caribbean? Because he don't want you down there sunning and thinking you're going to have a paradise. So you tear up your paradise. You got to get up off of tourist dollars and go to school and learn that there's wealth right up under your foot. And we can take the whole Caribbean and make a nation out of it with wealth and power. And by the way, did you call the brothers that took a knee sons of bitches? That's not nice, President. You wouldn't want nobody to refer to your mom in that kind of way. And you're about to go to war. I know that the generals are a little PO'd at you.
How about we, the people, learn this stuff together? Welcome to US 101. And today, guys, gonna change up the format quite a bit, actually. Okay, guys, so full disclosure. This week's episode of US 101 was actually going to look at the history and the role of the United Nations based on what was happening at the United Nations headquarters last week in New York City, what with Trump making a speech and the North Korean delegation making a speech, and just a general look at what the UN actually does in the world. But then something happened this past weekend that caught my eye and it piqued my interest, and that of course would be the fact that during his speech in Alabama, Trump decided to call out a bunch of players from the National Football League and called them out for kneeling during the national anthem, calling it disrespectful toward the anthem and the flag.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
And of course, when Trump says these things in speeches, the media runs with it. They call out pundits, they call up journalists, they call up experts, they call up non-experts, they call up athletes in this case, and everybody wants to get their opinion thrown out there. And I thought to myself, you know what? This is kind of dominating the media landscape right now, so why don't I discuss it as well? But I didn't want to just, do like a look at the history of the national anthem or a closer look at the First Amendment and whether or not players have the constitutional right to kneel during the national anthem. I wanted to actually have a discussion. So I called up a couple friends of mine and was like, hey, do you guys want to have a discussion about this? We can discuss the pros and cons of this. And they were down to do it. The first guy that I invited to the discussion was one that you guys have seen on the channel before, Keith Hughes, who is the head of Hip Hughes History, an outstanding YouTube history channel. And then the other guy was a guy that I've never worked with before, but I've been a fan of his work for quite some time right now. His name is Tom Ritchie, and if you guys have never checked out his channel before, the link is down below in the description box. Highly recommend you check out his videos and go ahead and subscribe to his channel. On Sunday night, we got together and we had a discussion live on YouTube on the Hip Hughes History channel discussing the NFL players taking a knee during the national anthem and whether or not it was actually disrespectful toward the anthem or the flag. And without further ado, I'm going to show you guys parts of that conversation for today's episode. And I'd like you guys to get involved in the discussion, man. What are your thoughts on the NFL players kneeling during the national anthem, or in some cases not even coming out during the national anthem during games this past Sunday? So yeah, let's dive into this conversation. I hope you guys enjoy it, and here we go. So let me
key benefits about using Indeed is easy to use and everything is in one place. So Indeed provided a great solution.
You know, that's not why I appeared on here or anything like that. But if you watch the entire like speech or as much of it as you can stomach, you know, he's like, look, we're about faith, family, and freedom and the Bible and all this stuff that he says because he's in Alabama. I mean, it's like the guy's a salesman. He's a panderer. Of course, any successful politician panders to their audience. So if you look at, and I'm not defending the comments or saying that they're presidential, anything like that, but you know, it's like he's there, he's pandering to an audience, he's trying to get this guy that's been loyal to him reelected. You know, what's really the irony here is that he was in Alabama to campaign against Roy Moore, you know, who is basically like the arch conservative, like super religious, you know, guy that, you know, basically the president is down there in Alabama trying to make sure like a guy that's like closer to the center gets elected, which is kind of the irony of this whole situation. So the thing is, I mean, I can respond to some things that are said here, you know, and that sort of thing. But, you know, let's see what Keith has to say, because for me, the professional football thing isn't a very high involvement issue to begin with.
Eye of the beholder. I hear a lot of people saying, well, what I think they mean. Well, I think they mean what they say what they mean. So if people have a deep feeling that this is what they need to do, and they need to silently protest or kneel or do whatever, whether I agree with it or not, to me, it opens up a door of, well, why are you doing it? Let's have that conversation, as opposed to more of a defensive kind of nationalistic reaction of, well, you're offending me. And sometimes I find it ironic also, because many of the same people who are offended by this silent protest will have their pants on fire if somebody's trying to interfere, you know, some kind of controversial protester who's trying to speak at a college and is being, you know, what I believe, you know, unlawfully shouted down or something like that. So I think that we should all chill.